What is up, everybody? Joey Jojo here, bringing you part 2 of Fruit of Grisaia, the visual novel I started reading. Last video, basically just reading it, was just about the main character Yuji, basically just going to a new school and meeting some of the characters. So it was just a basic, just getting to know the characters and all that. So let's get started on to part 2. The period of school day before classes begin is fundamentally blank, meaningless time. They say it's always best to arrive 20 minutes early, but preparing for a class takes 60 seconds at most. After that, there's not much to do other than wander around awkwardly. Still, I've always imagined school life as a fairly relaxed experience. A part of me was actually wondering if a little aimless downtime might be enjoyable in its way. But unfortunately... What? Again? Oh, Yumiko! That slightly pitiful fantasy was shattered all too quickly. Of course, I'm not going to break a sweat from an attack of Yumiko's, but being slashed at with a blade isn't the kind of pleasant breather I had in mind. I guess she had thought it a particularly well-timed attack, judging from the shocked gaze she's directing at me as she catches her breath. Of course, given that conspicuous clicking sound and her painfully audible footsteps, she might as well have been screaming, "Here I come." But time moves at half speed in my immediate vicinity. Giving a straight answer would be a pain, but I pull something out of my ass. Yeah, I'm just screwing with you. Oh. Maybe it's just me, but I think trying to stab your classmate is somewhat worse. This woman's copy of the criminal code seems to be missing the page on attempted murder. But judging from the way she momentarily bought my nonsense, she's unexpectedly airheaded, maybe, a bit naive, would be the nicer way to put it. There's only 6 of us here. It would be harder to forget. Oh. Still, glaring in my direction, Yumiko retracts the blade of her box cutter. And snorting in displeasure, leaves with a flutter of her skirt. When I return to the classroom, Amane strikes up a conversation. I guess the story of the knife assault in question had already spread around the classroom, as my problem with Yumiko seems to be common knowledge. It's not like she's doing me any harm, but I can't say I'm enjoying this. In our first encounter, I approached the stubbornly silent Yumiko in a physical sense. The outcome was her initial act of rejection. In part, that might have been the result of my own heightened wariness. Sachi's heavy-handed foreshadowing put me on guard, and I have a tendency not to trust somebody I'm meeting for the first time. At that time, while I certainly felt animosity from her, it wasn't so intense as to discourage me from approaching. However, from our second encounter on, Yumiko's bare, open hostility towards me. What's wrong? What's worse, apparently having come to the conclusion that she wasn't a match for me barehanded, she's been swinging around a box cutter of all things. According to Amane, it seems that Yumiko had something of a habit of brandishing retractable knives at people. Of course, her goal is usually more intimidation than anything else, but speaking as the target this time, I can sense there's a part of her that's seriously trying to stab me. It's not the best feeling in the world. I'd really prefer to avoid that kind of recognition.
いきなり接近しようとするからよ。近寄ってわからなかった？あの子の周りに強烈に張られたバリア。
Didn't notice.
ユージ君って強そうに見えるけど鈍感さは命取りになりそうね。
I'm pretty perceptive when my life's in danger, but I don't really feel that level of threat from Mumiko.
ユージ君って普通の恋愛とかがちゃんとできるの？
My master did say I was exceptionally unskilled in that department.
師匠？
At any rate, I want to do something about Yumiko's aggressive rejection of me. For that purpose, I'll need to talk to someone familiar with her circumstances.
はいはい、ホームルームを始めるわよ。
With the attendance book in her hand as usual, our carefree principal appears. I guess Chizuru is the only person I can ask. Oh my god, I'm sorry. In conclusion, Yumiko seems to hate me with a passion.
榊さんがどうかはともかく、あなたが嫌われる理由はよくわかるわ。
Oh, let's hear it then.
ほうじゃないわよ。事情を知っていて暇そうなのは学園長ぐらいしかいないと思ったから聞きに来たって。わざわざ宣言して部屋に入ってくるとか何考えてるのよ。
I only said what I was thinking. Was I wrong?
違うわよ。一応
Got it. In defense to your feelings, no matter how much I think you're lazing around, I'll keep it quietly buried in my heart from now on. Good enough.
そんなこと言われたら疑心暗鬼になるだけでしょ。
What do you want from me? Spare me the vague complaints. What's your pleasure?
だから嫌われるのよ。
Do you have any idea?
なんでも。で、質問の答えだけど。
The principal, cup in hand, lowers herself across from the sofa I'm reclining on.
榊さんはこの学園の創設以来の学生なの。
This place just opened recently, right?
ほぼね。一応学園の設立は今から1年前ぐらいだから。彼女はその時からここにいるのよ。
I see. What does that have to do with her rejecting me? Before responding to my question, she takes a sip of coffee from the cup in her hand.
自分のテリトリーに入ってくるのが怖いんでしょ。
Frightening.
そう。これまでは自分の認識できるものしかここには来なかったのに、いきなり異性の、それも得体の知れない人間が自分の近くに入り込んできた。
Principal Tachibana takes a pen in her empty hand and jabs it towards me to emphasize her point.
なので排除しようとしたってことじゃないかしら。
Hazing, is it? A bit of bullying comes with being a fresh recruit, but I didn't expect the same here.
いじめにしてはいじめられる側が強力すぎるけどね。
Apparently, unconvinced by the idea of Sakaki stealing my lunch money, Principal Tachibana hides a snort of laughter behind her hand. Although it's certainly amusing considering the balance of our physical strength, I don't see how I can manage a decent student life at this rate. I'm honored to have provided a moment of amusement for our perpetually overworked principal, but I came here hoping to have a path toward overcoming this challenge illuminated by your educational guidance.
あなた、実は私をいじめる目的でここに来たんでしょ。
Cranky from beginning to end, ultimately the principal didn't provide me with any useful advice. This is what a school is like, so figure it out for yourself. A normal school life means a few problems like this. I do have to admit she managed to dodge the issue reasonably well with that last line. In any case, since she didn't have any clear answers for me, I'm left with no choice but to do as she says and try to work on this over time. It's not really my style to go with the flow like this, but if that's the proposal of my educational guide, there's no helping it. What the hell? Why are they fighting?
スパーリングみたいになってきたわね。
新兵を手のひらの上であしらう教官なのよさ。
最初はハラハラしましたけど、こうなってくると緊張感のかけらもないですよね。どうして？
The result of going with the flow, Yumiko's attacks have been continuing without any particular change to
ユ
date.
ージもしっかり相手しちゃうから。
Look, could you quit it already?
うるさい。
Her movements thrown off by sudden sidestep, Yumiko staggers forward unsteadily. She tries desperately to regain her balance, resulting in a ridiculous pose in strong contrast with her usual haughty demeanor. Michiru lets out an involuntary giggle at the spectacle. She's instantly pierced by Yumiko's furious glare.
ごめんなさい。弱っ。
Ignoring Michiru as she cowers behind her desk, Yumiko storms out of the classroom in a tower range.
ちょっとこのところずっとリプレイを見せられているようです。怖かった。何よあの目。相変わらず人を凍えさせるのに十分な威力を持ってるわよ。
チルチルにはきっと血の報復があるのよさ。
ちょっとやめてよマキナ。
お楽しみに。
お楽しみにじゃねえ。
Scenes like this one were very familiar by now. With the exception of Michiru, everyone seems perfectly calm. Even if this little routine doesn't bother them, as a directly concerned party, it's problematic. Hey, Amane. In response to my call, she points to herself with her index finger, slightly asking me. What the? When I nod, she approaches in her usual pointless, sexy way.
何どうしたの？榊さんとの対戦格闘に疲れたから、私の胸の中で安らぎたくなった？
Okay, alright. I'm sorry, did you actually want me to treat you like a sex worker?
ユージ君がそれを望むのなら、そういう日があってもいいかな？
I'll be sure to keep that offer in mind, but that's not what I need today.
は？何なの？
You've known her, Yumiko, for a long time, right?
そりゃ確かに多少は他の子よりかは付き合いも長いけど。
Any ideas about the reason she's rejecting me this intensely?
わからない。ああいう子でしょ？正直、事務的なこと以外に話す機会もあまりないのよね。
I see.
ユージ君も来たことだし、これから少しずつ話とかできればとは思うけど、今は私もほぼデフォルトに近い状態なのよね。
Certainly, Yumiko hardly seems the type to open up and reveal herself to someone just because they've known each other a while. I guess I'll have to find a solution myself after all. Thanks anyway. Let me know if anything comes to mind. With those words, I move to exit the classroom. If Yumiko's rejection continues to take this form, I'll have no choice but to ask the principal's advice again. At the moment, I open the door and prepare to leave.
仲間意識かな？
I stop at the sound of Amine's voice. Huh?
ユージ君ってさ、よそから来た人じゃん？そういうとこ、あの子は異物感があって嫌なのかもね。
She's saying the same things as the principal, huh? Did it feel that way to you as well, Amane?
私はそんなことないわよ。ユージ君を全力で支援しちゃうから。
It's a little hard to take that seriously given the flow of this conversation.
ユージ君のこと、仲間だって思ったら戦いも終わるかもね。
I return to the dorm and wander the hallways without any particular objective. Compared to shuttering myself up alone in my room, it's easier to gather my thoughts. One of the group, huh? I recall Amane's parting words. It's easy for her to say, but actually getting that island of human being to recognize me as a friend seems next to impossible. First of all, we're not even on speaking terms yet. Oh, this late already? The sun is sinking below the window frame, casting shadows along the hall. About time for me to return to my room. Guess I'll try talking to her tomorrow. I scratch my head as I turn toward my bedroom. The sound of my slippers echoes roughly in the hallway. Yumiko might have her own set of internal rules, since she hasn't tried to attack me hasn't tried to attack me even once while inside the dorm. It's not that I was particularly off my guard as a result of that assumption, rather it was probably because it happened at this particular time of day. Or so, I would reflect to myself later. Evening, a hallway in the dormitory lit by the setting sun. At the flash of thrusting light, I react instinctively and grab her arm firmly. Damn, she's still trying to attack you even after school? With her arm captured, Yumiko's face stiffened. The box cutter, blade still extended, rattles around at her feet, turning in circles around the handle. Trying for the element of surprise? Yumiko's expressions change from shock to fear. That's what tips me off that I'm not wearing my peaceful face. Sorry, that came out of nowhere, so I couldn't hold back. I didn't want to frighten her. I thought I could play the normal student. I want to convince myself that I could. Look, Yumiko. Still gripping her arm, I look into her eyes and speak. I'm not your enemy. Yumiko's expression betrays uncertainty for just a moment, but just as quickly it settles back into her customary mask. But it doesn't look like you're convinced of that yet, so let me say one thing. Releasing her arm, I picked up the box cutter lying in front of her feet. Carefully retracting the blade, I hold it out to Yumiko. It won't cause you harm, and I won't pry into your business either. That's a promise. So stop this. It's pointless. Observe me and reach your own conclusions. If I'm lying, you can always try stabbing me again. Stumbling, Yumiko retreats a single step back. A single step. Bye. Wow. Okay. Turning around, I return to my room. Normally, Yumiko would seize such a chance to attack, but something's different now. Her elongated shadow is still, and the hallway is silent except for the small sound of her breathing. The next day! Alright, this game takes place in 2011. Okay. After that day, Yumiko's attacks came to an abrupt halt. Hopefully, I can use this as an opportunity to slightly improve our relationship. I'm trying to live a normal campus life, so it could be nice to minimize the number of classmates who want me dead. Oh, okay. Yo. As usual, to call Yumiko's behavior when we came across each other curt would be an understatement. But at the very least, judging from the clearly different way she's looking at me, her observation period seems to be ongoing. I'll answer, unless you want to know my weaknesses. Oh my god, okay. What a shame. Come up with something else. She occasionally talks to me like this, but instead of friendly chats about our lunch plans, we have investigative inquiries and careful negotiations. Even so, I suppose it's a considerable improvement over outright bloodshed. Oh god. That'll be very bad. Is that your idea of social interaction between classmates? That's what I'm thinking. That's really messed up. Right then. I open my hands in an exaggerated American-style shrug. Well, good luck to you, Yumiko. I think it's time to leave before she starts probing any further. Seems like she's hung up on that point. After those events, I've been intentionally addressing Yumiko by her first name. The family name would actually be more appropriate here, but I've got a bit of a reason for doing this. Says the woman who's never referred to me as anything but you. So you're saying, as classmates, we should both use last names? Yumiko's expression clearly reads, oh crap. Isn't that the starting point of building a cordial relationship? Alright, in that case, I'll take our friendship to the next level by making up an unpleasant nickname for you. Not to worry, you can do the same for... It might be a little early for that, so I propose starting with last names. Yumiko hesitates briefly, but before long she opens her mouth stiffly and in a tight voice. Oh, look at that, she's using his last name. After speaking these words with a cramped attempt at a smile, she stalks off. Yeah, best regards, Sakaki. Thus, after great hardships, I finally succeed in establishing an absolute minimum level of communication with my 5th classmate. Seems this student life thing is pretty rough in its own way. Okay, they talked a little bit. Again, another part? Okay. I think it is, I don't know. When I push open the heavy glass doors, I find the lobby in utter silence. Exchanging my outdoor used shoes for the slippers I used in my room, I reached for the board hanging above the shoe rack and flipped the magnetic tag reading Kazami Yuji from out to in. A glance at the other name tags reveal that Sakaki, Sachi, and Amane are all in, but there's no one in the lobby. They're probably shut up in their rooms doing homework. Hold on. There wasn't any homework assigned today, which would mean my hypothesis just now can't be accurate. Then what? When students shut themselves up in their rooms, homeworks and that word are the only things that come in mind. Although I gave the matter a little thought, I don't plan on going around and confirming my new conjecture. Is just a guess, and no matter what sort of vile filth they're getting off to, that's their prerogative. In this case, pretending not to notice would be the kinder thing. Having reached a conclusion, I reached out the door of my room, but in doing so, I noticed that the bit of tape I stuck on my door as a seal had been ripped off. Someone's in my room. Okay, now this is getting somewhere. Backing away from the door for a moment, I calmly press my ear against the wall but can't hear any noise from inside. It doesn't seem like a typhoon is lying waste to the room in my absence, but either way, if it's someone stupid enough to miss the tape, no need to be careful. I forcefully swing open the door to my room. Oh, shit! Okay. What are you doing in here? Who called me a stripper? It's not my birthday. You've got the wrong room. What? It's just Amane. Why are you in my room? Amane points to a large overnight bag lying on the floor, presumably containing her spare clothes. So why is she in the room? But it's now a room. So what are you doing in his room? Why are you half naked? You've got your own room, right? When I was a grade schooler, I had friends who thrown their bags by the door after school so they can get back outside faster. I guess this woman's brain works on the same level. Fine. I suppose. I'll come in whenever you invite me or not. It's my room. I walk into the room, hold a glass under the faucet in the sink, and filled it with tap water. What? I swig down tepid water from the glass. Actually, what? Your sentence is missing both a verb and an object. I'm not a normal man, and you're the one who barged into my room. If you don't want to be seen, how about being frank about it and telling me to get out? Want me to stick a 20 in your panties? If you say so, you seem pretty used to this. If you didn't want to be seen, you should have said so from the start. I'll be outside. Call me when you're done changing. What a troublesome woman. What do you want from me?
そこでおとなしくじっとしてなさい。
Nice tits.
感想とかいらないから。
Returning my empty glass to the sink, I turn my back to Amane for the moment. Breaking into my room as she pleases, she throws her tits around as she pleases, and then getting pissed at me as she pleases. I don't have any real obligation to be considerate of someone like that. But well, this kind of thoughtfulness is what keeps society moving
ねえ
smoothly.
ユージくん、
What?
君なんだか妙に女慣れしてるよね。お姉さんとかいるの？
Well, I did have one. Oh, I did have one. Did, past tense. Okay.
いたって今はいないの？
She's dead. Oh.
そっか、ごめんね、無神経なこと聞いて。
It's been years. Not a problem.
じゃあさ、無神経ついでにもう一つ聞いてもいい？
What?
お姉さんの名前は？
Kazuki. That's his last
カ
name.
ズキ？
I know. Kind of weird name for a girl. It's actually written with the characters for one and princess.
珍しい名前だね。
Why do you ask?
別にただの興味本位。
I see. My sister is a topic I prefer to avoid as much as possible. Not because it's painful to remember her death or anything sentimental like that. I just don't want to get in a heavy mood for no good reason. Maybe Amane picked up on my reaction since she doesn't ask anything else about the subject. Although she's a troublesome, selfish woman, I can honestly appreciate that part of her.
お待たせ。着替え終わったよ。
That took longer than a minute, but anyway. I wasn't really waiting.
どう？似合う？
Now that I look, Amane is wearing a pointlessly skimpy outfit. Even if it is summer, this is a bit over the top. Too much exposure, your breasts start barely staying in that thing.
ああ、いいのいいの。せっかくいいの持ってんだから、半分ぐらいちらつかせておかないと損じゃん。
A waste of resources.
この格好で商店街に買い物に行くと、なぜかみんなサービスしてくれるのよね。
Ah. This woman's trying to disrupt the economy of the shopping district via her tits.
あーって何よ。
Nothing at all. If you're done, hurry up and go. The 30 old men at the shopping districts are clutching their 20s in anticipation.
そうだね。そんじゃあ行こうか。
As she speaks, Amane grabs my arm like a border patrol agent seizing an illegal immigrant from Mexico. What are you trying to pull? Get off.
ねえ、お買い物に付き合ってよ。
Why do I have to come?
今日は10キロのお米を買うから運ぶの手伝って。
Even if you don't rope me into this, with that huge body, 10 kilos shouldn't be an issue. Or so I thought, but courteously didn't put into words. We are dealing with a woman here, technically speaking. In the first place, she's only large for a woman. I'm 8 or 9 centimeters taller. I guess Amane's gotten sick of me staring at her silently as she jerks me closer by the arm she's grasping.
おっぱい見せてあげたじゃん。買い物ぐらい付き合ってくれてもバッチ当たんなくない？
I don't remember asking to see her breast. This woman's logic is completely incoherent.
なに？なんか不満そう。見るだけじゃ足りないなら、もんどく？
Oh
軽く
my
つ
god.
まむ程度に。
If you think a flash of your tits will make any man do your bidding, you got another thing coming.
まあまあ、どうせ暇なんでしょ？うちの学校、今までは男子っていなかったから、力仕事は全部私に回ってきたのよ。かわいそうだと思わない？
When you've got a physique like that, I think it's probably inevitable.
これからは電球が切れても、ユージくんがいれば安心だね。そんな行こうか。
As she speaks, Amane entwines herself around my arm, pushing her famous breasts onto me. Hey,
わっちはこう見えても旧家を実家に持つ母親の娘ぞ。本来であれば裸を見たあんたには責任取って結婚してもらうところよ。
a shotgun wedding? What's that? I'm gonna look it up later. The fact that I just spent a good second thinking about anti-helicopter mines is frankly completely ridiculous, but the world had been seeming like an extremely ridiculous place recently. No point getting too down on myself. Fine, you just need me to carry the rice, right?
そうそう、最初からそうやって素直にって言ってりゃ可愛いのにね。
I've heard it's better not to be loved by God or big woman if you want a long life.
何それ。
I'm gonna see if I read that right. I've heard it's better not to be loved by God or big woman if you want a long life. Okay. Who? Just a joke. Let's get going already.
ちょっとやだ、待ってよ。
Let go of my arm. I don't need you clinging all over me. It's stifling.
本当は嬉しいくせに。ってあれ？ユージくん、なんかいい匂いする。香水とかつけてる？
Don't press your nose against me as snuffle. What? You're not a dog. Oh, dang, he hit her. Honestly, carrying some rice isn't really that big of a deal. But if I agree from the start to save myself the effort of resistance, it's easy to see she's taken this as a license to push increasingly unreasonable requests on me. If you're smart, you start rejecting people's requests at 80% of your real tolerant level. Alright. I'm going to end this part here. This video is definitely a lot shorter than the last one. But so far, this game, it's starting to seem like it's one of those games. With the very, let me not say one of those games. Very harem-like, I could tell. That CG did surprise me a little bit because it made me question if this is really all for all ages on Steam, but it is. I can guarantee that because I do know that a website that sells visual novels, Jast USA, they sell visual novels, but they sell them in the 18+ version. But promise y'all, I'm not reading that version, but I'm reading through the all ages. So that was a good part though. We learned a little bit about Yuji and his sister and her passing, which is very tragic. But I feel like the story is starting to flesh out a little bit more. The heavy stuff is coming, and the climax is coming soon. So yeah, that's the end of part 2, and I hope I will see y'all next time.